Volume 4, Number 7, New Hires. After weeks of construction, you could see that the building is finally erected. It was a long time coming. New hires and also promotions were considered and also confirmed. Michael was having his final progress report with Lisa Miller. Lisa Miller and Michael shook hands. Lisa, thank you for all your hard work. Lisa was wearing a yellow jacket for the actual final meeting. It was my pleasure, Michael. I have done a lot of work to help make this meeting possible. Thank you, Lisa. Your general manager position was the best position for you. You look great, by the way. Let's get to the meeting. As they made their way to the progress report and conference room, this was going to be the meeting that they were going to announce their final decision on who was going to be the general manager along with Miguel. Okay, so are we ready, Lisa? Said Michael. Yes, we're ready. Okay. As they made their way into the conference room, after weeks of making decisions and all the construction, it was looking like they were ready to open their doors. Although there was still work ahead, they were meeting with the building inspector as well. The building inspector was going to inspect the electricity, all the wiring, all the things that needed to be done to open the doors to the actual location. All the final details were going to be in place. They were way ahead of schedule, more or less. So, really, it was up to the grand opening when to open up for actual service. Wow, we're weeks ahead of schedule. I didn't realize they were going to work so fast. The bricklayers really built this place from the ground up. Well, Michael was anticipating that it was going to take a lot longer, but they were fast workers, and Michael didn't realize how quick this job was really going to make speed look like quick work. So Michael was nervous, obviously, at the fact that this was really happening. So he was waiting patiently as Lisa was trying to calm him down and just make sure that he was going to be content with the results. As Lisa had compiled notes in preparing for the building inspector to come in and inspect the building. Michael, just be reassured. Once the building inspector gives you the seal of approval, you can make decisions from here. I just hope everything goes as planned. That's all I am. I'm very concerned. At the same time, I'm confident that everything's going to go well today. Yes, of course, naturally speaking, you should be confident that everything's going to go well. I have to make some initial decisions. If everything is held back, then we're going to stay with our game plan. We'll just wait and see. It's a wait and see type of thing, more or less, said Michael to Lisa Miller. Michael again says, "Thank you, Lisa. You have been nothing but a support system for me." As the meeting starts to draw closer, the conference room begins to slowly, gradually crowd in with employees. Office employees come in, especially HR. Carol comes in, Madison comes in, and so does Vanessa. They're anticipating for the what could be possibly a very important meeting. Michael's going to keep it brief because he's not really sure until he really gets the final decision from the building inspector. This will seal it for everybody. So this is a preliminary meeting. All right, everybody, please take a seat or find a place that's comfortable because this is going to be very brief. The building inspector is going to inspect the building. We will know when we are going to actually open. Once the inspections finish, we will know for sure. This has taken weeks to build. As you know, you can tell by the structure. When we will officially open will be remain to be seen. There might be some things that need to be updated. or completed, it'll be up to the building inspector to make that decision today. This is just a preliminary meeting, so please know he'll be around inspecting all the work that's been done, like wiring, electricity, all safety measures. I mean, it's basically a safety issue at this point. Is it safe to open, more or less? And my greatest concern is that no one takes this as a premature opening. This is just a safety check to see if it's safe to open. I have to take all precautions as needed. For all those that are looking at this as an opening, it is too premature right now. There's weeks of work still ahead before we open officially. So just know, while the structure is up and ready to go, I have to take all the precautions for the safety of my employees. There's a lot of insurance issues to think of and consider. I don't want anyone to get injured at the office and at the job. So that's why I'm having this meeting. This is a safety issue for me personally. So with that said, any questions? Miguel asked a question. So are you suggesting that there's safety issues right now? No, there's not a safety issue now. It's up to the building manager to make that decision. If there are any safety issues, we have to rectify that. And then they'll come back and do a second look. Until we get an actual estimate of what that is, then we will know today. Okay, any questions? Now, as far as hiring, here's goes Michael into his speech. I am going to hire one more manager. And I already have someone in mind, but until that time, I'm not going to announce it until this safety meeting is complete. So I will be interviewing that potential candidate for that job. I'm hiring within, as I said. As far as mechanics, I already have a few mechanics hired. So there are mechanics on board that are going to be filling in and working with and following along. They're already trained. They're already experienced mechanics. You will meet them at the training. I did all this in advance so that they would be prepared to move into their positions. So Miguel, Bruce, Keith, Nick, all of you that work in the department, you will be responsible for training. You will get a pay increase as well. That will be added on your check when the training comes so that you know ahead of schedule. I just want you to be aware that there will be increases in pay if you're training any of the new hires. And of course, Keith, Nick, Bruce, and Miguel all applaud each other and high five each other. See, I don't want anyone to think that we're neglecting our employees by any chance, but we have to take all safety measures. Now, listen, I have to cut this meeting short because the building inspector is going to be here. So I need to go and meet with the building inspector because he'll be here in a few minutes. So while I'm leaving, if there's any questions or concerns, we're going to have a follow-up meeting once I talk to the building inspector. So I'm going to cut out of here early, and it's nice talking to all of you. Again, hold your questions for after the building inspector comes. And just then, the building inspector enters the building and meets with Vanessa at the front desk. Hi, Vanessa. Is that the building inspector? Said Michael. Yes, he's waiting in the lobby. And then he goes to shake hands with the building inspector. The building inspector inspects the location of the addition of the garage. He takes his time, delicately, looking over the building, the newly erected garage. And he takes his time meticulously. And he says he has a crew that looks over specific things, specifications more or less. And they take their time and they gently look through all the wiring, all the electricity, and especially the garage itself. What seems like minutes takes hours of intense work. And he says, we're going to cut for lunch, said the building inspector will be back after lunch. He said, that's fine, Michael said. And he said, we'll only be a few minutes. We're just going to grab some sandwiches and we'll be right back. And what seemed like a few minutes was just about 20 minutes later, and they cut for lunch and they come back. They continued to inspect the building. The building looks structurally fine. There's only a few things we want to look over, and we'll see what the evaluation will be. As the evaluation continues, Michael's confident that everything's starting to look promising. Well, it looks structurally well. There's a few things that we want to look over before we end this tour of your structure. Right now, as it stands, it looks like it's in prime condition for opening. We might come back for a second look if it's okay. Michael says, that's fine. We want the best possible outcome, possibly. If there's anything that we need to do, give us a checklist of things that we might need to work on, and we'll work on it. And then the inspector lit up and said, that would be great. There's some things that we want to do as far as the lighting and some other things. So he left a checklist of things that they could work on for a second visit. And that really encouraged Michael that while the inspection went very well, there were some things that they could work on. So that ended the meeting. And Michael felt like, look, if there's some things that they can work on that are minor, at least they got through the majority of the inspection. So this was encouraging to Michael. It was minor things, the light switches, the lighting, things that could be rectified over time. So Michael ended the conversation with the building inspector. Everything's looking promising, and it was very fortunate for Michael. His prayers were answered very quickly, and he was very happy with the results.